Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Clark Surrey. I'm a photographer and filmmaker here in San Diego, California, and an aspiring YouTuber and an aspiring creative professional. That intro still needs work. If you are new here, I make videos that are just kind of documenting my journey of going from working minimum wage customer service jobs up to doing photography and video production full time. So I hope that that journey is successful. It might not be, it might be. So stay tuned, find out. But anyway, today we are gonna be talking about balancing a Glidecam. I have the Glidecam HD 2000 here, which is not the newest version that Glidecam offers, but I've been using this for probably almost 6-7 years now, and I love it. It's amazing. The electronic ones, I won't get into it too much, but they just don't give you the same type of fine-tuned control that this does. The problem with these is that they're really hard to balance, and I remember when I first started, they were, I got mine and I tried for about 3 days to get it balanced and get it working, and I got so frustrated I put it in the corner of my room, and like 2 months later I came back to it and I said, I'm gonna figure you out. And I spent a long time watching every tutorial I could find and experimenting and trying and getting extremely frustrated, but eventually I figured this guy out. And so now hopefully I can impart some of that knowledge onto you if you are just getting started on using a Glidecam. That being said, Glidecam has a ton of awesome video tutorials already explaining everything that I'm gonna explain in this. The thing is that some people have reached out to me and said that they've seen all of those tutorials and that they still don't get it or they still don't understand. And I understand that sometimes you wanna see a tutorial from a different person or a different perspective, or maybe some tip or trick that I show from experience might be the little piece of information that you needed. So even though there are other tutorials about this, plenty of other ones on YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead and make mine, and I hope that somebody is able to figure it out from the way that I explain it. So here we go. All right, so like I said, today we're gonna be working with the Glidecam HD 2000. I've taken off all of the weights on the bottom plate, and up top here, I just have a quick release plate that I have added on top of the mount. You should use a quick release plate because that'll make everything a lot easier, but you don't have to. You could mount directly to the Glidecam if you don't have one. So the first step to setting up the Glidecam is to mount your camera to the plate that's gonna go onto the quick release. So for this, we're gonna be using the Sony a7 III with a Canon adapter and a Canon lens, and we're gonna be taking the plate that's gonna go in the quick release plate on the Glidecam. You don't have to worry about exactly where you're attaching the plate. The plate should be able to slide on the Glidecam, and you're gonna be able to figure out the correct weight from there. If it is way too far off, it's easy to just take off and move the screw, but I wouldn't worry about it from the start. The next step is to take your camera with the plate, make sure that it's screwed on tight because you don't want it to fall off the Glidecam, and you're gonna slide that into the quick release plate on your Glidecam and tighten it down. Once you have the camera attached to the Glidecam, you're gonna go through the first step of balancing. The first step that you're gonna go to is the drop test. The drop test is the most important test that you're gonna do with this. If you don't get the drop test or understand the drop test completely, fully, make sure that is perfect. The rest of the Glidecam will not balance. So make sure that you are doing this first. So how you do the drop test is you grab the handle with one hand, and then you're gonna turn the entire Glidecam sideways. This is why your camera needs to be securely attached to the Glidecam. And once you're here, you're going to take the hand that's holding the side that doesn't have the camera, or the weighted side, and you're gonna let go. Now, as you can see right now with no weight on this side, the camera side is much heavier. We don't want that. We need the weighted side to be heavier because we want the weighted side to come down like this when we let go. Right now it's doing the opposite. So let's add some weight. Okay, so now that we've added 3 plates to each side, we're gonna attempt the drop test again. Hold the camera sideways and let go with the weighted side. Now you can see that the weighted side definitely drops down, which is great, that's what we wanted, but now we have to make sure that it's dropping in the right time. the amount of time that it should take for the weights to drop from this position all the way down to the bottom where the camera is upright is about 3 seconds. So from here, we go 1, and you can see that it took about 1.5 seconds for it to get there, which means that the weighted side is too heavy. Now there's a couple ways that we can go about fixing this. We can take weights off, or we can adjust the length of the center pole. There should be an adjustment where you can pull this in and out, and if it's all the way in, it will make the drop time slower. Do it again, like that. 1, 2. Or if it's longer, it'll make the drop time faster. So as long as you're close in your weights, and it's doing basically what you want it to do, you can adjust the center pole to find the actual 3-second drop. 1, nope, too fast. 1, 2, still too fast. And this is pretty far in, so at this point, I think I need to remove a plate from both sides. All right, so now that we're down to 2 plates, we're gonna go back to trying the drop test. 1, 2, 3. That's a little bit closer, but it didn't go all the way down, so I'm gonna extend the pole just a little bit more here. And 1, 2, 3. That's getting there. So we're getting pretty close on the drop test, but I can feel it, and you'll learn to feel it, that this is pretty off balance. And the way to check that is to just hold it and try to hold it upright and see what the GlideCam does. As you can see, it swings back into my body. Now I know that that is because this camera is way too far back on the GlideCam. This back side of the camera is obviously much too heavy, and that's why when I let go here, it swings back into me. So we're gonna adjust the quick release plate and bring the camera way forward and see what that looks like. Still coming back, but not nearly as much. Adjust the quick release plate forward again. And that's much closer. Obviously it's not balanced yet, but it's much closer. So now that we're there, we're gonna go back to the drop test. 1, 2. Now you can see that that swing actually came all the way across, and that's because we fixed a little bit of the top balance. And that's kind of a part of balancing a GlideCam, is you kind of have to go back and forth between the different steps, and each one is gonna help you get a little bit closer to that final balance. So now let's look at that drop time again. 1, 2. So it's still too fast. So I'm gonna shorten the length of the pole here. Try it again. 1, 2, 3. That's pretty dang close. 1, 2, 3. And you can see it swings all the way down and continues the swing off the other side, so we know that the camera is fairly close to being balanced. Now let's go back and see what it looks like if we just hold it by the handle and try to keep it upright. It's still swinging back towards me, that's what I first noticed, so we're gonna move the quick release plate again just a little bit forward. I also noticed the camera's a little bit crooked, so I'm just gonna straighten that out a little bit. Hold this here. There we go. That's looking pretty good. It's still a little bit wobbly here and there, but overall this stands straight up and down. It's not tilting in any crazy direction. We go back, we check our drop time. Still looks pretty good. We're in a good spot. And now we're gonna get into the really fine-tune adjustments. Now, when you get into the really fine-tune adjustments, there's a couple of really tiny things that you need to adjust because the amount of weight that you're gonna be moving is so tiny that anything will make it wrong, essentially. So we need to take the lens cap off because we're not gonna be using a GlideCam with the lens cap. And we need to make sure that the camera is actually on. We need to turn it to the on position, especially if you have a camera that has a switch or something like that where it actually moves a physical plastic element on the camera. You wanna make sure that the camera is in the exact condition that it's gonna be when you're using it, when you're balancing it, because little things like taking on and off a lens cap or turning it on and off are gonna change the balance. So now comes the part where you're actually gonna use the tools that the GlideCam provides for you. And that's these little knobs that are here on the side and on the back. Now these other screws, depending on which model you have, you may have to loosen just a little bit, and that will help you to adjust the screws that are in the side and the back. Once those are loosened, you should easily be able to adjust the front to back and the left to right adjustments. So we're gonna hold the camera up in position. I can see that it's coming back just a little bit. So I'm gonna turn this knob, and it may be different on yours, but I'm gonna turn it to the right, which is gonna move everything forward, move the balance a little bit forward. Still coming back, I'm gonna turn it to the right a couple more times. And that's looking a lot better. Left to right, I can feel that it's leaning just a little bit to the right. So I'm gonna turn this one to the left, which is gonna move the balance over to the left a little bit. Close, but I'm gonna go a little bit more. Actually, I'm gonna overdo it here so that I can show you what it looks like if it's balanced way too far one way or the other. So if we do this, now you can see that the camera is very much leaning left. This is definitely not balanced, and that's just off of the tiny side screw adjustment. So I'm gonna turn this back to the right to bring the balance back to the right. Not quite far enough. Getting there, still leaning back a little bit still and to the left, so making adjustments on both those screws. Leaning back a little bit still. Leaning back a little bit. A little bit to the left and a little bit back. And that's getting pretty close. So now we're gonna go back to the drop test, back to the beginning, because you always wanna do the drop test again and make sure that none of the changes that you've made are gonna affect your drop time. Back to here, 1, 2, 3, a little bit fast, shorten that up just a little bit. 1, 2, 3, that looks good. Now that we've changed something on our drop, I moved the pole, I need to go back and make sure that the balance is correct. Looks pretty good, just a little bit left lean. Good, so now this is looking pretty good. This is standing perfectly steady. I know that I have a 3-second drop time. You can test it a little bit by moving it around on the handle, and it should more or less stay where it's supposed to stay. Obviously you can see it's moving a little bit, but this is pretty unrealistic camera motion. Hopefully you're not actually shooting doing this, so it's not gonna be flawless. At this point, you basically have the GlideCam balanced. You can go a little bit further than this, and I'll show you how to do that, but I will say that this is how I knew how to balance my GlideCam for years before I ever learned how to mess with it further. And it worked great, and I used it on plenty of professional gigs and got beautiful, smooth shots, and this was all I knew how to do. So if you are looking to just get started, this is all you need to get beautiful, awesome shots. That being said, you do have to practice. This is not a plug and play device. This is not where you achieve this balance and you're gonna run outside and you're gonna get perfectly smooth shots. Nah, this took me months really to learn how to use your offhand here, the hand that's not on the handle, to really control the wobble and really get it to push and pull and be able to do everything that you need to do to nail those perfect shots with the GlideCam. The last step we're gonna talk about is similar to the drop test, except for you're gonna hold it so that the wings on the bottom are actually out instead of up and down. When you're here and you drop it, you can actually see that one side of the weight plate, one wing of it, actually tilts down and hits this bottom area first. You let go. You can see that it's this front side. So that's what these knobs down here are actually for. I can loosen these and move this in and out is so that these plates can be perfectly equal based on this balance. And what that will do is make it so that when I drop this, these will go down perfectly at the exact same time. This will help clean up your balance just a little bit and really, really perfect all of the shots that you're working on. But like I said, it's a very minor adjustment, and if you don't do it, it's really not a big issue.
All right, that was the general overview of balancing the GlideCam. Hopefully that helped you. Hopefully some part of that clicked for you and makes this process easier. I know it can be a pain, but I promise it is worth it once you figure it out. And the more you do it, the faster you'll get at it, and it will not be an issue at all. If you guys like this video or have any questions about using a GlideCam or balancing a GlideCam still, please let me know down in the comments. I try to respond to every single comment and happy to answer any questions you guys have about this product.
Today is January 1st, and I hope you all had a wonderful New Year's Eve last night, and I hope you are all ready for 2019. A lot of my goals for this year are based around this YouTube channel and creating more content in general. So if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel, hung out with me on my journey. You can go follow me on Instagram. I post a lot more of my still imagery and photography over there. I hope you all have a wonderful start to 2019, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye. Rapping.